Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the introduction of Java. So Java is a general purpose programming language. So similar to your Python, Java is also a general purpose programming language. You can use it for different like your softwares if you want to create different if you want to apply for in your different kind of applications. So for this thing, we can use our Java programming language, and it is also a high level language. So always go through this concept of high programming language. So I think you already have an idea about what do you mean by high level language and what do you mean by low program level language. So these are the basic concepts, and I think you should know and have an idea about what do you mean by high level language and what do you mean by low level language. So basically your high level language, first of all, we'll just go through. Okay. Yeah. So in the case of your there's some problem with my pad. Okay. So in the case of your high level language, so high level language are your C, C++, Java. So those language are basically the language which a human can read. Okay. So you know what do you mean by print? You know what are integer, int. So human can read that language. But in reality, you already know about that. Whatever the thing which we are writing it in our programming, our computer cannot understand that thing. So that is the thing we require. Either we require compiler or either we require interpreter. Okay. So similarly, all these languages are what our high level languages, while your level languages are what your assembly language. So in the case of your assembly languages, what you are doing, you are just directly writing it in the case of your machine code. Okay. So if you want to perform add operations, so you just directly perform add and all these such kinds of things. Okay. So kindly mute your mic. Some is open. Okay. So yeah. So in the case of your assembly language, what we generally need to do, we generally write the low level instructions. So actually in our system, in our let's assume this is our CPU. So in our CPU we have RAM, ROM. You already have an idea about that. So over there, what we are doing, there are some resistors also. So like R1 resistor, R2 resistors, like that. So in R1 resistor, R2 resistor, what it consists of? It consists of some memories, okay? It consists of some bits. So how we are going to store these things, okay? So in that scenario, we always go for low level language. So those are what your assembly language. So they can directly talk with our these registers, okay? But here, if you are going to see it in our high level language, if I'm going to write a plus b is equals to, suppose a is equals to 2 and b is equals to 2, and if I'm going to perform c is equals to a plus b, so here we are not basically dealing with these resistors, okay? So what will happen whenever you are writing a code of addition of any two number? So in reality, what is happening? It is going, first of all, suppose if we are having some compiler, so this compiler is going to convert this into your machine level code. Okay. So it is going to convert it into your machine level code or low level code. And based on that, our machine is going to basically understand whatever the function we are performing it over here. So similarly, our Java is also a high-level programming language, and it was originally developed by James Gosling at Sun Microsystem in 1995. So Java is a language that is platform independent. So what do you mean by platform? So these are the very important you can say that the terminologies. Okay. So you should have an idea about what do you mean by platform. So platform is basically here, the platform is referring with respect to the operating system. So you already know that there are various different kind of types of operating systems are available, like your Windows, your Mac, okay, and your Linux based operating system like that. So why we are saying it that Java is a platform independent language? So it means that if you are going to write a program, suppose your addition program over here, and if you are going to execute it in this your Windows operating system, and we are also going to see the in the depth, okay? So how we are going to why Java is a platform independent language also. So similarly, if we want to run it in some other operating system also, so in that scenario, again, we don't have to compile it. We just have to just execute it. Okay. So that is why Java is also a platform independent language. A platform is the hardware and the software requirement in which a program runs. So right now our main focus, as I told you that in the case of your platform, I just referred our software environment, that is our operating system. In the case of our hardware, if we are going to talk about the hardware, so you already know about there are two types of architectures in our whenever we are basically purchasing any laptop. You already have heard about 32-bit operating, 32-bit or 64-bit, whatever the architecture you are having, your laptop is having. Okay. And Java has its own Java runtime environment. Okay. So we are going to talk about in detail, in depth about JRE also. Now, so Java code is once compiled and it can run on any platform without recompiling or any kind of modification. So as I already told you that it is a platform independent. So that is why this statement is very much suitable for Java programming language is you can write it means if you want to mug this thing, so you can just understand it like Vora means write once, run anywhere. So you have to just write your Java program only once, and if you have write it down and if you have compiled it, then later on you can run it in any operating system. But if you have heard about C and C++ programming language, that is not in the case of those programming language. So if you have write a program in Windows operating system, so you cannot again directly execute that code in your Linux based operating system like that. Okay. So in the case of your C++ programming language, it is not at all suitable for that. So how we are basically performing this functionality? So there must be something special in Java programming language, and that special thing in our Java programming language is our JVM. That is your Java virtual machine. So you have already heard about VMware. So in the case of VMware, what we are doing, we are creating virtual machines. Okay. So in a single operating system, you can basically create different virtual machines, and you can basically over there you can upload different kind of your operating systems. Similarly, in our Java programming language, we are having this JVM, that is Java virtual machine. Always heard this thing is very important. That is your virtual machine. Okay. So in the case of Java virtual machine, a Java code, so similar to other programming language, what we are doing, we are just writing some code. Okay. So like in the case of your C, C++ or Python programming, what we are doing it over there, we are just writing some code. Okay. So similarly for in our Java programming language, first of all, we are just writing a Java code and we are going to compile that Java code. Okay. So suppose we have some code. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you about what is class and all those things. Suppose this is my code. First task is that I am going to compile it. Okay. So first task is what I'm doing. I'm just compiling it. So once I have compiled this code, so this my Java code will be converted into byte code. Okay. it will be converted into bytecode. So during lab sessions, what we are going to do, we are also going to show you how this bytecode looks like. So in the case of CodeZinger, you will not able to see this bytecode. But yes, if you are working in any IDE like your Eclipse or your NetBeans, so over there definitely we will show you how this bytecode looks like. So it is not the entire your high level language code, as well as it is not fully your what we can call it as your machine level code. Okay, so it is a kind of an intermediate code. Okay, so once this code will be generated, what will happen after that? Now this file, if you want to run it in any different operating system, like your Linux based operating system or your Windows operating system or your Mac operating system. Okay, if you have this file and if you are going to execute in this operating system as well as this operating system, it is going to execute it. Okay, so this bytecode gets interpreted. So over there, so in the case of your Python, we are using compiler? No, we are not using compiler in the case of your Python programming language. But here in this case, we are using both your compiler as well as your interpreter. Okay, so that is why Java is the best of both. Okay, so even though there are some flaws also, but we are also going to discuss about those flaws of Java programming language, but there are some advantages of Java also. Okay, so that is why in Java programming language you have two things, your compiler and your interpreter. So first of all, what you are doing, you are compiling the code, and after you are compiling it, later on you are just what you are interpreting that code. So basically that all these things, that interpreter task is going to be performed by your JVM. Okay, your Java virtual machine. No need to worry about that. So this is a result of a compilation of Java program and intermediate representation of that program, which is machine independent. Okay, like that. So we will see all these things in depth. Okay, so no need to worry about that part. So basically, whenever in our further classes, what we are going to do, I will show you the entire code. I will show you the entire screenshot of all those codes, we are executing the code, how we are storing that code in a memory and all those things. Because we should, whenever you are going for any programming language, one thing which is very important is that you should know that how this code is basically executing. It's not like that you just click on the run or execute button, our code gets executed. No, how our compiler as well as interpreter is executing that code line by line. Is it executing from top to bottom, bottom to up, left to right, right to left, and what are the basically priorities? Okay, so you should have an idea about that part also. Otherwise, what will happen? Because if you don't know the priority, that which line will gets executed first, so in that scenario, or whenever you are going to write your code, you will get different error. You will not able to understand why we are getting different kind of error or output. Okay, so that is why this is very important. You should know how our code is executing. Okay, like that. Now, right now, you have an idea about what a bytecode. Okay, so what I told you, what is a bytecode? So whenever you have a your source code, whatever the program you have written, okay. Now, after compiling, just after compiling, okay. So once you are performing the compilation of this code, what you are getting it, you are getting a bytecode. So when we write a program in Java, at first the compiler compiles the program and a bytecode is generated. So automatically it is going to generate a file. Okay, it is going to generate a file, and that file is going to be executed or interpreted by whom? Our JVM. Okay. So when we wish to run this dot class file, so whenever you are writing any Java program, so initially our program is what in our .java file. Okay, but later on, whenever you are going to execute it in your bytecode, always remember it is in your .class file. Okay, always remember bytecode is in which file? Your .class file. All these things we are going to demonstrate you. No need to worry. Okay, because this is just your first class, so I'm just giving you an idea about that part. So like I told you earlier also, so here this is what my .java file. Okay, .java file. So whenever you, like in your Python programming language, you are using some extension. In your C programming language, you are using some extension whenever you are storing any file. Okay, and later on what you are going to do whenever you are performing that compiling this file. Okay, so suppose the file name is abc.java. So what will happen after compilation? This file extension gets what changed, and it will become what your dot class. So it will become what your abc dot class file. Okay, so always remember, when first of all what you are doing, you are just writing a program, and later on after you are compiling that program, it is going to be converted into bytecode, and also the extension of that file gets changed. Okay, it will now become what your dot class. Earlier it was dot java. So this class file, we can run it on any other platform. Okay, as I told you, in your Linux based operating system, Windows, and any other operating system also. After the first compilation, the generated bytecode is now run by your JVM, and the processor is not consideration. Okay, only Java installation is required. So what will happen? Suppose you have written a code of summation of two number. Okay, so this is your file. Okay, suppose ABC, I'm just writing it, and now you have compiled it. Okay, after compiled this code, what extension you will get? You will get ABC dot your class. Okay, automatically after this compile, your compiler will convert this dot java to your dot class. Now, suppose if I want to run this your code, this file. Okay, so now in that scenario, it is not mandatory that I should have this your Eclipse ID, NetBeans ID, or any JDK, Java Development Kit. Even though if you have JVM or JRE, we generally call it as, if even though if our system is having JVM, that is our Java virtual machine, we can directly execute this file. So the generated bytecode is now run by JVM, and the processor is not in consideration. Only Java installation is required, and implementation of JVM is based on stack. Okay, so we will see the internal structure of JVM also. Okay, so how our JVM looks like. So till now, what we have learned about the introduction of Java, that Java is also a programming language. Okay, so by the name of our this course, you already know that Java is an object-oriented programming language. We will go through what do you mean by object-oriented programming. No need to worry, and it is why it is very important, popular at that time. See, at that time, 1995, earlier the languages were what your C, C++, the most famous programming language. Okay, and these two languages were not your platform independent, but in order to make the language platform independent, that is why they have basically worked on this project, and they have developed this Java programming language. So that is why the main advantage, there are other advantages also, but one of the key advantage of Java programming language is your platform independent. Means once, just write once and run anywhere. Okay, like that. So, and also we have gone through the bytecode also. So what do you mean by bytecode? After compiling, just after compiling, right now I'm not saying that you are executing the code. Okay, first task is you are just compiling it. So that is your first task. So once you have compiled the code, you will get the bytecode. And this bytecode, if you have a JVM only in your system, in any operating system, you can directly execute this bytecode file. Okay, like this. So here in this case, this is in this diagram, you can directly see it that whatever the thing I have already explained you, that we have a source program that is in our .java file. Okay. Now we have a compiler. Okay. So in our Eclipse, or if we are using any JDK, that is your Java Development Kit. So we have a compiler also. So first of all, once you are going to compile it, what will happen? It is going to generate a bytecode, and that bytecode will have an extension of dot class. Okay. So a file is having the extension known as dot class file. So now I want to execute this bytecode or this file in my Windows operating system. So in my Windows operating system already, I have already installed this JVM. Okay. Similarly, for my Linux, I have already installed a JVM. For my Mac, I have already installed my JVM. Now, what will happen? What is the main advantage of this bytecode is that once if I want to execute this file in my Windows operating system, so for using this JVM, I can directly execute this file. Okay. And always remember that JVM of Windows and JVM of Linux are different. Okay. The code means the way they have executed or implemented JVM for Windows and JVM for your Linux and JVM for Mac, they are different. But they have implemented in such a way that it is going to convert your dot class file, which means your bytecode file, into your machine code, so that our system will able to understand, okay, how we are basically performing the entire operations. Okay, like that. Now you already know that this all these things are going to be performed by whom? Our JVM, because we have a compiler in our C programming language or C++. If you have heard about these two programming language and have an idea about that part, so over there also what we are doing, we are just first of all we are just compiling it. Okay. So we have a compiler, that it is not an issue. But here the main functionality which our Java programming language has achieved is that now our programming language is having JVM. Okay. So now what JVM will do? So in our JVM, we have, this is the internal architecture of our JVM. That is our Java virtual machine. So in our Java virtual machine, so what we have these things like our class loader. So first of all, what will happen? I can just give you a basic example. Okay. So note, later on I will explain you each and everything. So suppose this is my program. Okay. So this my program is abc.java. First of all, my program name is abc.java and I have just executed this program. Let's assume this is just an example. So once I have compiled my code, what will happen? My extension gets changed and now my extension will become abc.class. So it will have some sort of this your machine native code, or you can call it as a bytecode. So this bytecode will have some sort of different kind of things, like we'll show you how this bytecode looks like class ABC, and there are some 1010 machine code like that also. So after that, what will happen? Now we want to execute this bytecode. We want to execute this bytecode. So in order to execute this bytecode, how our JVM will work? First of all, it is going to load the class. Okay. So first of all, what it will do, whatever the class. So whenever we are writing any Java programming language or Java programming related code or Java source code, we are basically working on the class and objects. Okay. So first thing, what it will do, because class is very important. So class or interface, what it will do, it will first load. So there is a loader which will load the class in this JVM. Okay. And after that, once this entire class gets loaded, inside the JVM, then because it is also a virtual machine, okay, so that is why it is also consists of some memory. It consists some memory. So you already know about, like in Python, if we are writing I is equals to 0, so you know that this I is what the variable name. So this variable name is basically holding a value that is what your 1 or 10, whatever the value. So where this 10 value is storing, it is storing in your memory. Okay. So similarly here also, so suppose if I have written something like that int a is equals to 10 over here. So how my memory is basically stored over there. So similarly here we are having JVM memory. Okay. So in JVM, so in our basically whenever we are writing any Java programming language, so Java programming language consists of your class, methods, okay, class and methods. These are the, and your, you can write it like your variables, your data types, variables, and and your last one is your method. Sorry, uh,
Packages.
sorry. Any
Package.
question? Hello. Yes, your
I
voice
was
is not.
saying that the last one will be the package.
Yeah, yeah. You can call it as like a package also, but right now I'm just yeah. You can call it as package also. Okay. So package is nothing but it is a collection of your classes. Okay. So class, and in class we have methods as well as our variables. Now, now what we are doing it like here, so how we are going to store it in our JVM. So all these things are going to be stored it over here, like your variables, your in some of the components are basically stored in your method area. In heap, some of the components are stored in your heap area, like that. Okay, like in your JVM stack, your PC registers, your native method stacks. So you already know, if you have an idea about, so that is why I will explain again this JVM architecture later on, once I will show you the entire code, how we are going to write this code, because I will show you that how this stacks, methods, heap, method area, how we are going to basically store all these components in our JVM architecture, inside our JVM architecture. Okay. But right now, I'm just giving you a glimpse about that. In our JVM, first of all, it is basically working on this bytecode. Okay. And after that, once it is going to execute, store all the components in the inside the JVM memory, after that, last step will be what your execution engine. So in execution engine, we have a JIT, that is your just-in-time compiler, okay, or interpreter, sorry. So over here we have an interpreter. So always remember, inside a JVM, you don't have compiler, you have interpreter, okay. So in that, it is going to use these native methods. So these are the machine level methods libraries already. These are the inbuilt libraries functions that are already available inside in our JVM. So with using the functionalities of these native method interface and native method libraries, we are going to execute our code. So suppose you have performed the submission or whatever the operations you have performed, you are going to execute it later on. So last, whatever the perform, whatever the operations you have performed, you will get it. So now, what are the applications of your Java? Okay, so approximately 3 billion devices and more than that devices in your run your Java. Okay, some of them are as follows: your desktop application. So what we are going to do in this course structure, okay, in your last module, there is a unit known as your swings. Okay, so using with the using with the help of your swing, or somehow we are going to use your applet also. What we are going to do, we are going to work upon your desktop application as well as your web application. We are going to create these applications. Okay. Similarly, if you want to work upon enterprise applications, So there are different editions of your Java, okay, like your J2SE, your Java to Standard edition, your Millennium edition, as well as your Enterprise edition also. So based on that, you can basically work upon the enterprise applications. Similarly, you already know about that entire our Android, okay. In our Android, it is basically working upon your Java programming language, okay. Similarly, in your embedded system, your smart card, robotics. So these are the basically different areas where we can apply, where we are basically applying this your Java programming language. So it's not like that now Python becomes popular, so we are not using, or our Java programming language is outdated. No, it's not like that. Yeah, there are some scenarios where Python outperforms our Java programming languages, but yes, there are some application areas also where our Java programming language outperforms your Python programming language. Similarly, you cannot say that C and C++ programming language are outdated. No, they are not outdated. Even there are many application areas where still nowadays also C and C++ programming languages are used. Okay, so over there, Java as well as Python you cannot use. So I can tell you about that part also. Why we are using C and C++ language, why we are not using Java programming language for that, for those areas. Okay, it is basically just I'm just giving you an idea about it is basically related to upon your computation speed. Okay, so the computation speed of your C and C++ is higher in comparison to your Java. So if we are going to draw a diagram, so we can say that C or C comma C++ is having a faster speed, computing processing speed in comparison to your Java, and Java is having a higher processing speed in comparison to your Python. Why it is like that? Because it is a purely compiled language. Okay, so whenever you are going to compile anything, so it is going to give you a very fast output. Okay, so it is just directly, so in the case of C++ language, what you are getting it, you are directly getting the machine code, you are directly getting the machine code. But in the case of your Java, you can see it over there. First of all, you are converting, first of all, you are compiling it, and then you are basically performing the interpretation part, interpreting that thing. Okay, you are using basically interpreter. So it is a two-step process. So automatically you know that here Java is slower than your C and C++. While Python, now the question that comes into your mind is why Python is slower than Java? Because Python is a fully interpreter language. Okay. While in the case of your Java, you are basically first of all you are compiling it. So whenever you are compiling something, so in a single instance you are compiling the entire code. Okay, so that is why compilation, if you have a compiler and interpreter, compiler is faster than in your interpreter. Okay, like that. So there are four types of applications. So we have already gone through these applications. So these are what your standalone application. So most probably I will demonstrate you that how we are going to implement AW2 as well as Swing in our this subject also. Okay, and if we have a time, so I'm going to while this is not in our syllabus, this web application, but still if we have a time, so I will definitely show you that how we can build these web application also, because this JSP servlet these are very important, okay, concepts. So no still you can also go through after this subject also, there is an advanced Java programming language course also. So in that subject you can go through these two topics, okay, like that. So similarly, we have enterprise application and we have your mobile application. So actually in our Java, we have four versions. Okay. So whenever you are going to install your your IDE, so you will see there are four types of your addition, different kind of addition. Yeah, like J2SE, your standalone, J2ME, J2EE, and J2ME for your mobile application like that. Okay. So as I already told you, the history of Java is that James Gosling, Mike, and your Patrick. These three have initiated the Java language project in 1991. So whenever see one thing which we have learned from this statement is that see why we are working, why we already they are already C++ programming language, why they have worked on this Java programming language, because every programming language is having some problems. Okay, it's not like that every programming language is suitable for all kinds of your applications. No. So for application specifics, we basically work on different kind of languages. So they basically worked on different programming languages. Similarly, they have developed this your Java programming language. Okay. So firstly, it was called as Green Talk. So you already know that even if you are working in any project, what you generally do, first of all, you suggest some project name, then later on you came to know about, no, this name is not that much suitable. So we should go for some different name like that. So similarly, in their scenario also, what they have done, they have given different name. Initially, they have called as Green Talk. After that, they have used this Oak. Okay. And then later on, what they have done, they have renamed as what your Java. Even though they have in history, they according to history, what they have done, they have picked the name randomly. Okay. But some of them are saying that there, I think there is an island name as Java. So based on that, they have just given or named or termed this language as what your Java programming. Okay. So there are different versions of Java also. So you will see once you are going to download it, you will see that there are different latest versions also. So in every versions, there are different functionalities they basically incorporate. Okay, like that. So these are the features of your Java programming language. It is object oriented. So here we are basically working in your class and your objects, which we are going to learn it in the entire course, how it is object oriented, because we are going to basically implement it. Okay. So no need to worry. What are the four pillars of your object oriented programming language: encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, like that. So no need to worry. We are going to implement it. Okay, all these things in this course. Second one is platform independent. You already have an idea about why it is platform independent. It is secure because the way they have implemented the JVM and the way the bytecode got generated, it is quietly secure. Okay, and similarly, it is robust, it is portable, it is dynamic. Portable, always remember, students generally get confused with these two terms. Okay, uh, with your, sorry, here I haven't. So no. So portable, again, it is kind of similar that you can use it in your different architectures also. Like I told you, like you can use it in your different machine, like in your 32-bit architecture as well as your 64-bit architecture. It is in dynamic in nature. It is having a high performance, multi-threading. So there is a in one module we have added this concept known as multi-thread. Okay, so we are going to learn that part also, and it is also going to in your distributed in nature. Okay, like I told you that Vora, like write once, run anywhere. So it's not like that in a single machine you can just write it, compile it, and execute it. No, in different machine or in distributed systems, we can basically work this your Java programming language. Okay, so it is having high performance. So don't get confused that why they have used this high performance. So in comparison to C and C++ programming language. Okay, so in comparison to C and C++ programming language, it is going to give us the high performance, because one more concept which is very important in our Java is our garbage collector. Okay, garbage collector. So if you are not using some variable, okay, so there are some variables in reality you are not using it, or some referencing which you are not using it. So what this garbage collector will do, it will directly dump those basically referencing variables and whatever the variables which you are not using it for the long period of time, like that. So this is just a simple program. So how many times we have? Just 10 minutes or 5 minutes of
So,
time. Yeah.
so what is robust
Okay.
and previously?
Okay. Okay. So why we call this your Java programming language is your robust programming language. Okay. So as I told you, similarly, you can directly relate with your garbage collector also, because in our Java programming language, in our earlier programming language, like in your C as well as in your C++ programming language, we are using some complex topics. Okay. Those topics are basically your pointers, okay, which makes our means you can directly map it with your memory, basically use with the help of your pointers. What we are doing it, we are basically directly dealing with the memory. Okay, we know the address. Based on that, we have just directly started working or accessing or changing, manipulating the data using with the help of your pointers, as well as your there is a concept known as operator overloading. But here in the case of your Java programming language, what they have made it more robust in the sense that these are the functionalities they have avoided. And so that whatever the space, like as I told you, that once you have written a code, okay, so you have written a code and you can write, or you can basically execute it in any different kind of your operating system. So it is not going to change the structure of your bytecode. Okay, so it is not going to change the structure of your bytecode. As well as in your Java programming language, they have this garbage collector also. So using this garbage collector, what they are doing here, they are making the functionalities. And one more functionalities which make our Java programming language more robust is our exceptional handling. Okay, exceptional handling. So right now, what you are doing it, you are just executing your code and you are getting some error. Okay, this is what is happening right now. If you haven't implemented exception handling in your Python programming language, so over there what you are doing, but till now in comparison to C and C++, it is not there. Okay, but here in this case, what they have done, they have also introduces this exceptional handling, so that if you want to make your code means if you want to create some manual kind of errors also, or manual kind of exceptions, you can make it. Okay, so this is the basic functionalities which our Java has provided us, so that we can make our program according to our need or according to our application, whatever the application we are using. So all these things, all these features, we are going to implement it. Okay, so in our furthermore classes, in our 2 3 or 4 5 lectures, after whatever the lectures we are having, so in all the lectures we are going to learn about all these features. So I will tell you about why this is robust, why this is object oriented, why this is platform independent, all these things. Okay, or multi-threaded, all these features we are going to learn. So right now, just it is just a glimpse about that part. Okay. So the main thing which I just want to cover, because you are also having labs also, okay, in this week also. So that is why I just want to give you a sample program, okay, a very simple program. I think in every programming language, the first program which you generally write is basically your hello world. Okay. So how you are going to print hello world in your Java programming language? So in the case of your Java, Java is always remember it is a case sensitive language. Okay. So always remember, what do you mean by case sensitive? Case sensitive means if I am going to write int and if I am going to write int, these two basically whatever, if I'm using it as a variable or keyword, suppose, so these two things are not equal to, or a is not equal to a. Okay, like that. So if you are going to write int a is equals to 5 and int a is equals to 10. Okay, so please always remember, these two things are not same, these two things are your different. So your Java is your case sensitive language. Okay, so that is why these are the keywords you are going to use. So first keyword is your class. Whenever you are going to write or create a program right now, just learn about this thing. Okay, so later on we will try to I will explain you the main reason behind why we are creating class, why we are creating these methods and all those things. But right now, just understand this part is that whenever you are going to write any Java program, first thing is that you need to write a class. Okay, so this class is a keyword class name, and sorry, your keyword. Okay, and it is in your all lowercase. Always remember it is in your lowercase, and whatever the name you want to give. Okay, like your hello or whatever ABC or whatever the name you want to give. And after that, these are the curly braces you are going to use. Okay, and in this body, inside this body, the first thing which you are going to write it over there is public static void main. Okay, string args system.out.println hello world. Now what you are going to do, you are basically invoking a method. Okay, what the name of this method, or method and functions are same. So those who are having an idea about functions related to your C and C++, so methods and functions are same, no need to worry. So in this method, the name of this method is what your main. Okay, so if you are going to write it main, so what will happen? You will get an error. Always remember, you will get an error. Similarly, these are the access modifier. Okay, public is what an access modifier. Static is also a access modifier. So I will tell you about the functionality also. Void means it is going to tell us about that you are not going to return any value. So if you are going to write int over here, you will get an error. Okay, so void is referring what? Returning no value. So whenever you are going to return any value, so and these are what your arguments. Okay, so these are the command prompt argument you generally write. This is a string class, and this is what your arguments, okay, of array data type. Now here in this case we have system.out.println. So whenever you want to print something in your Java programming language, so this is the statement you generally write it. Okay, that is what your system.out.println. So even though you can, if you are going to write print also, it will work. Okay, println is basically for whatever the next statement you are going to write, it will come into your next line like that. Okay, but always remember that because in your first two labs, you all of you, those who are not having an idea about Java programming language, they will face a lot of error related to this syntax, because in system S is capital, in out everything is in lowercase. Okay, so always whenever you are going to write this your entire syntax, so in your early labs, no need to worry, we are not going to evaluate your first 1 week or 2 week lab. We will tell you about that part also. So once you get familiar about this programming syntax and all those things, then later on we are going to start evaluating this entire labs, your lab. Okay, so when nowadays we are using, yeah.
So can you tell me again about that public static void, that one?
Yeah. Okay. So in the case of your public, what we are doing, actually, I just want to explain this concept in your JVM. But yes, if you want, I can explain you here. Public is basically telling you about that it is open to all. Okay. Public, these are what your access modifier, so that that our JVM, that is our Java virtual machine, can access this method. If it is private, or what are the different access modifier we have private, protected, and all those things. But here
Sir,
whenever
we are having our next class also.
okay. So in the next class, what we are going to do, we are going to discuss about the first program. Okay, so most probably I think the day after tomorrow, so I will send you the invitation also regarding your next class. So any feedback or anything, if you are having, if you are facing in this class, you can directly tell me. Okay, so no need to worry, please don't hesitate. And if you want any suggestion that I should go slow and I should go fast, like that, you can directly send me. Okay, or you can directly tell me.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you,
Then.
We
sir.
need to leave, sir.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.